You were part of the press conference yesterday announcing new polling data on caregiver credits in Social Security, which is an idea I'm excited about. Um, so tell us about that, if you would.
It is a great idea. It's an idea I think whose time has come, and it is really exciting. There's about close to a dozen bills pending in the U.S. Congress between the House and the Senate right now, with ideas for expanding Social Security benefits. And there's a lot of ideas of how to expand, and frankly now is very much in favor of all of them. But one of the ideas that we are especially excited about is the idea of expanding benefits through caregiver credits. Here's how it works. So women work a lifetime at unequal pay, and over their lifetime, they lose between $400,000 and $2 million in because of the gender wage gap. Some, but not all, but some of that gender wage gap is related to the fact that women are forced to either go part-time or drop out of the paid labor force altogether to care for children or ill family members or elderly family members. They're caregiving. It's a lot of work. They don't get paid for it. Social Security benefits are based on your wages, right? So women, get all the way to their retirement age, and Social Security, when calculating the benefit, it's going to look back at your 35 years worth of wage earnings. But the average woman is in the paid labor force only 28 years. So the
Mm.
caregiver credit, and so you can see that artificially pushes down her Social Security benefit in her retirement years, just at the moment when she really needs retirement security because she doesn't have much in the way of savings because on average women are getting just 77 cents to the dollar. So they work a lifetime at unequal pay, and then their Social Security benefit is lower than it should be because they had to drop out of the workforce to provide care. Okay, so the way the caregiver credit works is it makes an adjustment in that Social Security benefit to account for the years that women drop out to provide caregiver services. There's different ways of doing it. Nita Lowey has a way, Gwen Moore has another way, but the important thing is that we are now recognizing that women should not pay a price in their Social Security benefit for having dropped out of the paid labor force to give hard work to family members without pay.
Well, absolutely, and I do think it's a terrific idea as well. And one of the things that gets me about this debate is you'll talk to a conservative politician who'll say, "Well, nobody worked harder than my dear mama," and that's real hard work too. But when you say, "Great, let's provide Social Security benefits for us," now hold on. Um, it points out the fact that if we really do value caregiver work in this country, we should recognize that in the way we provide income security to people. Don't you think?
Exactly. Oh, that's exactly right. I mean, that's the main thing. If you value it, let's put a value on it and really literally put our money where our mouth is.
Now, one of the problems we face, and we've got so much to talk about, Terry, but one of the problems we face on this issue is that um, as you start to think about how to calculate it, the problem is, frankly, every calculation process runs the risk of not being fair to women, but at least it's a start. For example, if you take the earnings they had while they were working, if you took those 28 years and just took that average instead of the 35, you'd offset for the time they were spent out of the workforce, but you wouldn't offset for 70 cents, 77 cents on the dollar. You wouldn't offset for the fact that they may have had far fewer opportunities because of the sexism that says, well, you'll probably take time off anyway. So the glass ceiling effect and so on. But at least it's a start, right?
Absolutely, it is a start. And in fact, one of the proposals is simply to look at median wages across the board in the U.S. and sort of plug in a number that is some portion of the median wage. That's made. So if a woman drops out of the workforce, say in 2014, then when Social Security goes to calculate her benefit, instead of $0 earned that year, she will be deemed to have earned, maybe whatever the median wage was in 2014 or some portion of the median wage in 2014. So yeah, and that's a good idea because it takes median wages for men and women, and that way women are not being penalized in Social Security for the fact that you have that 77 cents on the dollar. And it's really important for women of color, and here's why. African American women, for them, the wage gap is right around 64 cents to the dollar, and for Latinas, it's like 59 cents to the dollar. A big reason for that, and this affects white women too, is that women generally cluster in lower paid occupations, so retail, service, anything that ends with care, health care, child care, elder care, those tend to pay less, and they have less in the way of pensions or 401ks. They often don't have that at all. They have either more meager or zero health benefits. The Affordable Care Act is making a big difference in that. But the reality is that right now, underpaid women are not only underpaid, but they are over taxed in the sense that they have to pay their own health care. They have to pay their kids' own health care.
Right.
And at the end of your working career, you've been making 59 cents on the dollar, 64 cents on the dollar. How are you going to save for your retirement? Well, you can't. So women of color are deeply reliant on Social Security benefits, and we can't allow Social Security to continue to penalize them for the lower wages that they were making during their lifetime.
Well, we're talking with Terry O'Neill, president of the National Organization for Women. And while you were talking, I had an idea, and my idea is this: it's radical. I'm not even sure I support it, but it's interesting because I don't want to cut Social Security benefits for anyone. But wouldn't it be? I want to expand them across the board, and especially for women who have been cheated in our economic system. But if you said, okay, women make 70 cents on the dollar, therefore their benefits will be round. That's 23 cents. If their benefits would be rounded up by half of that, let's say 11 cents, and therefore using the averaging process, and therefore men's benefits would be averaged down by 11 cents, suddenly we'd have a society that is universally in support of equal wages for women, because men would be paying a financial price for the first time in history for the economic discrimination that's shown to women in the workforce.
Richard, I've never heard that, and actually, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a good place to start. We could seriously look at that, and honestly, here's why that is it is a very good idea. The reality is that whether it's wages or whether it's Social Security benefits, which are really just wage replacement, right, that you get after you're no longer working, that's money that goes into households by and large. That is money that is available for whole families. So to equalize it it's not necessarily a men against women thing, right? Because it's still going to be going with the family. And in fact, the studies are pretty clear that wages that go to women very disproportionately go to the welfare of the family members, much more than wages that go to men, right? The women are not buying cars or Maseratis, or really cool stereo equipment. They're buying food, they're buying health care, they're buying sort of staples that the whole family shares. So any money that goes to women actually lifts up whole families. And I think that's, and it's good for men. And here's how you can tell that it really is good for men. The polling is showing that men are very interested in closing that gender wage gap. Why? Because their own salaries, their own wages have been pushed down by anti-union measures over the past few decades. They're seeing their own wages go down, and they're looking at their wives and saying, "Oh my God, you're getting an unfairly low wage. My wage has been pushed down by anti-unionism. If you were just getting paid fairly under the law, the whole family would be benefiting from better wages for women." And men get that, and the polling is showing that they're very interested in closing that gap.
Well, first of all, the reason why you never heard that other idea is that I just made it up while we were talking, and I got to be careful sometimes about that. But the second is that The second idea that occurred to me as you were talking was, you're absolutely right. I've seen those figures that show that women's expenditures go to basically household staples, and it also struck me. I wonder if there isn't. We're all talking about how to create a stimulus effect for the economy. I wonder if wage increases for women. It'd be interesting to get an economist to look at this. Wage increases for women don't have a higher stimulus effect than wage increases for men because they're more immediately spent as opposed to like banked for, savings or whatever. And they're spent on things that are job creating, like food production and childcare and other essential things. Whereas, the occasional purchase of a Maserati doesn't have that much of a stimulus effect. So it'd be interesting to see if it wouldn't be better for the economy if we're looking at ways to increase wages, if it might not be best for the economy to concentrate on women's wages for a while.
That I think that's absolutely true, Richard. I think that's a great idea, and it's a really good reason to focus on improving women's wages. And I think we should also think about something else. One of the questions you have with, for example, enhancing Social Security benefits through the caregiver credit. There's no question it's expensive. It's the Social Security system will be paying more out in benefits because, after all, women are nearly half the workforce anymore. So can we afford it? Well, the answer is absolutely we can afford it. One of the things we obviously have to do is scrap the cap, and I'm sure your listeners are very familiar with that, right? So
Yep,
right now, most people are paying 6% in Social Security taxes, but the wealthiest are paying way less than 6% because of that cap. So you get rid of it, so everybody's paying the same flat tax into the Social Security system. That's one thing. But the other thing that you need to do in order to really strengthen Social Security is broaden the jobs base, right? Because what employed people do is they pay into the Social Security system. So we need more
absolutely.
jobs. And then we need, as you're talking about, we need better wages for especially middle income, lower income, and middle income Americans. The better wages they get, more money flows into the Social Security system.
And I also like this idea. I guess I'll just close out with this. Offer you a final thought before we go to some other interesting topics out there. But I like this idea of giving women, or really anybody who is a caregiver, credit for their time spent out of the workforce, because I think it says something good about us as a society if we're able to do it. Well, first of all, as you guys noted in your press conference this week, the idea is extremely popular with the public for very good reasons. And but number two, I think it says something good about us if our political system can translate that popularity into policy, because it says that we're still capable of evolving and growing, including in our understanding of what the economy is and what it means to be a contributing member of society. And I just think it would be nice to see that happen.
Yeah, Richard, I could not agree with you more. I mean, that's exactly right, and I think you're right. It's got to be for all caregivers, men as well as women, and increasing numbers of men. It's still very much a minority, but increasing numbers of men are moving into that role.